ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, Text 25. Kvachiccha shita vatadya अनेकाधि दैविक भौतिकात्मीयानां दशानां प्रतिनिवारणे कल्पो दुरंत चिंतया विषण्ण आस्ते। Translation: Being unable to protect himself from the threefold miseries of material existence, the conditioned soul becomes very morose and lives a life of lamentation. These threefold miseries are miseries suffered by mental calamity at the hands of the demigods, such as freezing wind and scorching heat, miseries offered by other living entities, and miseries arising from the mind and body themselves. There are three types of miseries that every living entity goes through. There is no option for any living entity, especially human beings. There is no option. Doesn't matter how rich we are, doesn't matter how poor we are, doesn't matter are we married or are we in brahmachari ashram. It doesn't matter what is our gender, our age. Nothing matters. Every living entity has to go through these sufferings. The three miseries. And therefore they are called as kleshas. So kleshas are the miseries. So there are three kleshas. Adhi, atmika klesha, adhi, bhautika klesha, and adhi, daivika klesha. Adhyatmika klesha, sufferings caused by body and mind. So there are so many sufferings which we go through because of any ailment in the body. Some pimple comes and that pains so much. Their toothache, I think that is enough to make our life miserable. And sometimes, if not this gross, then mentally there's so much of problem which the mind creates. The uncontrolled mind with its infinite thoughts can make a person miserable. Therefore, more than people suffering on the gross platform, people suffer on the psychological platform. And the same thing is elaborated as emotional also. So in this way, a person suffers a lot on the mental platform. It's Adhi, Atmika Klesha. Adhi Bhautika Klesha, sufferings caused by other living entities. So there are people around us who might have had some past life balance of karma, who come around us and then they try to fulfill the balance that is there. They can come in the form of husband, wife, kids, fellow brahmacharis, or anyone for that matter. So they'll be there around and they'll create the problem. Or if the past life, the balance which we had with some person, and say that person becomes a mosquito, he will suck the blood. Adi Bhautika. Or everything is going well, we are resting very nicely and suddenly you get a call. You suddenly get a call. And you never know, the frauds, the robbers, they can do anything. In this way, all the other living entities who are there around us, they create so much of ruckus. And because of them, the person is miserable. And then we have Adi, Daivika Klesha. Not just the living entities on this planet. There are others who are also having a watch on all of us. So all the Devi Devtas. So they are the ones who give some misery for people in this world. In the form of floods, famine, tsunami, earthquake, etc. Fortunately, we don't have volcano and other things in India. Outside India, there are places where volcano eruptions, etc. are also there. So in this way, we see that all these miseries are always there around. But what is the need of these miseries? Is the entire creation of the Lord is so perfect. At least we, as spiritualists, we know this from Shastra, that the entire creation is perfect. Then why these three miseries? These three miseries are given so that the living entities understand this is not a place to live. This is not a place where I should settle. Therefore, these miseries are there. Every time a misery comes in someone's life, it's a reminder. Bhai, get lost from here. This is not a place to live. What are you doing here? Trying to settle? No. I'll not allow you to settle. So many people who are settled, and one pandemic unsettles everyone. It's a reminder. And when we are suffering because of these miseries, it actually reminds us that there's something wrong with this place. And the second realization that the person might get is something wrong within me, maybe. So what is that? Then the thought process begins. Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport itself that all three may assail, one at one time, or one misery may be absent and the other present. So ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा कि all three are absent. One or the other thing will be there to help us to realize some higher truths of life. The so-called happy materialistic person is constantly having to endure the threefold miseries of life. So they have to always keep counteracting the threefold miseries of life. Every single living entity. And therefore, these three are compared to the trident of Durga, Trishul. Prabhupada uses the word conditioned souls. We are so very conditioned that Durga is using her Trishul and she is poking all the time. And all the time we are getting this hit from the trident. But now we become so conditioned. We feel good, acha lagta hai. We have all these miseries. People say also, dukh nahi rahega to sukh ka kya maza? Sukh dukh dono hona chahiye. When I joined Brahmacharya Ashram, one of my relatives was telling me, see, you want to practice bhakti, all that is good, you want to be happy. But then if you don't have a sadness in your life, how will you relish happiness? So this is the stupid philosophy of this world. Why? Because in this world, people have become so conditioned, they cannot think themselves completely happy all the time. They cannot think. Now when the happiness is there, there'll always be an anxiety thinking, now what will come next? What is that sadness or what is that suffering that is waiting for me? So in this way, Durga Devi is trying her best. She is doing that thankless job of helping the living entities to realize this is not a place to live. But the living entities are trying to settle in this world, especially human beings. And when they try to settle in this world, they do a lot of things to counteract these threefold miseries. Can we ever protect ourselves or our loved ones from these threefold miseries? We cannot. We cannot. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj is offering prayer to Narasimha Dev. And he says, Balasya neha sharanam pitaro narsimha narthasya chagadamudanvati majjato no taptasya tat pratividher iyajanucheshtas tavad vibhor tanubhritam tvadupekshitanam. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, oh Lord, everyone in this world is suffering because of this tapa. And this tapa means tapatraya. That's the extension. When we say Shravan Adi, it means Shravan Kirtan Adi. Shravan Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. So tapa, when we use the word tapa, it means tapatraya. And traya means these threefold miseries. So he's saying that, oh Lord, people are suffering in this world because of the threefold miseries. And they're trying to counteract it in various ways. But they cannot counteract it, oh Lord. And then he gives example. Balasya neha sharanam pitaro. Even when the parents are there, they cannot protect their child if the child is about to die. So many examples are there like that. Where child is dying in front of the parents and parents are not able to do anything. Who are supposed to be the shelter of the kids, of the children. And then he says, Narthasya chagadam, na arthasya cha agadam. So the person was going through some disease. Medicines cannot save him, doctors cannot save him. They alone are not sufficient. So many people die in hospital only, no? Where everything is set, everything is proper, but still people die in the hospital. And then he says, Udanvati majjato now. And there are boats in the river, in the ocean, other places. But still there are people who drown. They drown in the water. So boats are not alone sufficient to save a person who is drowning. So in this way, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Oh Lord, parents alone cannot save their kids. Doctors alone cannot save the patients. And the boats alone cannot save the drowning people. If they are neglected by you, then surely they will meet their death. Why they are suffering? Because they have been neglected by you. Now, this is a very nice thing to note, that in this world we cannot control anything, to be frank. Especially all these examples which are given. I don't know where we heard this. There was one case where they were going on a boat and small child was playing in the water. And a crocodile caught the child. And the parents are pulling him from one side, crocodile is pulling from the other side. And the boatman is saying that leave your child, or the entire boat will topple. And parents themselves had to leave the child, and they were seeing from their own eyes how crocodile is eating their own child. Boat was there, the child drowned. Parents were there, but still the child died. You see? Therefore, it's very important to note that when it comes to counteracting these threefold miseries, one thing is very clear, that we cannot counteract it successfully. And when we try to counteract, what happens? Prabhupada is writing in this purport, he says, the living entity is full of anxiety, fearing misery from one side or the other. The conditioned soul must be disturbed by at least one of these three miseries. There is no escape. See, look at the words that Prabhupada is using. No escape. The living entity is full of anxiety and fearing misery. So this is what is the state of the living entity in this material world. All the time there will be some anxiety, some fear that what misery is going to come now. And this point is also very important. The conditioned soul must be disturbed. Must be disturbed. Therefore, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, Prayena alpa ayushya sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagyahi upadrata, disturbed. So naturally in this world people will be disturbed because some of the other thing is going to happen and there is no escape, Prabhupada says. So in the previous chapter, shloka number 11, Prabhupada says that this is an example of the struggle for existence. The attempt to counteract the onslaught of material nature. This creates enmity in society and consequently society is filled with envious people. See, this entire thing of survival of the fittest, this competition and this cutthroat competition that is there, all that is what? Struggle for existence. People will name it very nicely that yes, there's nice competition for me and this and that nonsense. But the point is this, it's a struggle for existence in this world. And in that struggle for existence, when the person tries controlling various different things of this material world, he thinks that he is the controller. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. He thinks he is the controller, but he does not understand. He cannot control things of this world. And therefore we see, just because of this controlling mentality, people have to suffer so much. Because we are trying to control that which cannot be controlled. Like for example, parents trying to control their kids. And when kids don't listen, parents go mad. Isn't it true? Yes. And then when it comes to husband trying to control the wife, or vice versa. Or even the guru or a mentor trying to control one's own mentee or disciple. Again the same thing. In the office, the boss is trying to control the employee. Again, the misery. So in this way, one thing is very clear. When we try to control that which is out of control, like Prabhupada mentions, we become morose, sad, and disturbed. And one thing is very clear, when we become disturbed, we cannot focus on Lord Krishna. We cannot focus on Krishna consciousness. We cannot do bhakti. Therefore, a devotee tries his best to remain peaceful. Very, very important. Obviously, will not be allowed to remain peaceful for a long time. But voluntarily, the devotee does not get into some disturbance. So as soon as he understands that this particular situation will put me into disturbance, he does not get into that situation willingly. Therefore, this is a very important point that a disturbed person cannot practice bhakti. You take up any example on the street. When a person is very disturbed, you go and try to preach him. Maybe he'll preach us back with all his miseries that he's going through. Especially while doing book distribution and all, we find such people very miserable in life. And they're like, "Arey yaar, time nahi hai mere paas ye sab ke liye. Let me go. My boss is waiting for me to beat me." So many times you find people, where they're so disturbed and they're not ready to listen a single word from devotees. And when people are disturbed, even when they sit in the class, what happens? They're not able to focus. They'll just keep their eyes open and they'll be extremely awake. But they're awake because there is so much going on in the head. So much disturbed. And in that situation, they're awake and maybe the speaker might be thinking, "Oh, kitna attentive hai ladka." So attentive this devotee is. And this is a fact. Therefore, as devotees, we have to be very careful of not willingly enter into some disturbing situations and not willingly associate with disturbing elements of the society. Very, very important. And especially, we're discussing about threefold miseries, but especially for us, associating with materialists, associating with women, these are the different things, which are disturbing elements to practice devotional service. There's another very nice shloka which talks about how one can go beyond or surpass these threefold miseries. In fact, for a very long time, I was not able to understand the shloka. But today, when I was reading other shlokas, I could get some idea of what it is. This shloka says, please repeat. Gunadikan mudam lipse anukrosha gunadhamad maitrim samana dhanvichin na tapairabhibhuyate Guna adhikan mudam lipset. So, but this particular shloka talks about how to deal with seniors, equals and juniors. So now, say I find someone, Guna adhika, some person who is very well-to-do as compared to me, in whatever, material or spiritual. Guna adhika mudam lipset. You should become joyful. This particular shloka says, as soon as you see someone better than you, you become joyful. Anukrosha gunadhamat, guna adhamat. Someone who is not on par with you, who is lower than you. So at that time, what we are supposed to do? Feel compassionate for that person. Help him. Maitrim samanad anvichen. Maitrim samanad. So as soon as we find someone equal to us, in any respect, what we are supposed to do? Develop friendship with that person. So when someone is better than us and we start becoming envious of that person, and the person who is below us, guna adhama, such a person if we start neglecting, and maite or the people who are equal to us in various ways, if we start becoming proud and try showing off various things that we have, life will be miserable. The last line of this shloka says, na tapaira vibhuyate. Anyone who understands to deal with seniors, equals and juniors, na tapaira vibhuyate. The threefold miseries cannot affect the person. He'll be joyful. I was wondering, how is this possible? Just by understanding how to deal with these three categories of people, the threefold miseries will not touch the person, looks like. How is that possible? So Prabhupada writes in the purport, which I just now read from previous chapter, this is an example of the struggle for existence. The attempt to counteract the onslaught of material nature. So threefold miseries are coming and then we're trying to counteract that, and that is a struggle for existence. This creates enmity in society. and consequently society is filled with envious people. So now threefold miseries are going to be there, no doubt. And then we are trying to counteract with that. And in the course of counteracting the threefold miseries, and when we are going through this struggle for existence, there is a huge probability of creating a lot of enemies around. But this particular shloka, which we just chanted, Gunadhatikan Budam Lipse, this particular shloka says, if you understand how to deal with the three categories of people, superiors, equals, and juniors, you will not be touched by the threefold miseries. What does that mean? During the course of counteracting the threefold miseries, there will be some people who will be better than us, some people equal to us, some people lower than us in whatever way possible in that particular situation. If we learn to deal with the three, our life will be peaceful. But if we don't learn to deal with the three, our life will become full of misery or full of suffering. Because in that particular situation, in the course of counteracting threefold miseries, we'll not understand what to do next and create a mess out of the situation. Very wonderful and deep shloka. So this is the etiquette that is taught to us in Vaishnava Sangha also. How many times it is spoken about Vaishnava etiquette, how to deal with superiors. Whenever we see the superiors, we pay obeisance, we talk to them respectfully, and we try to follow their instruction, we try to serve them. When we find someone who is junior to us in whatever ways, we try to help the person to advance in spiritual life. When we have equals, we share our heart and we don't insult them or things like that. You see, all these different things are nothing but training. So in Krishna consciousness, even when we are stuck in this material world, but when the etiquettes are followed, the Vaishnava etiquettes are followed, life will be peaceful. Threefold miseries will be there, but we will not be affected by threefold miseries. Therefore, in this conditioned state, in this Baddha state, what is important is following the Vaishnava etiquette. Very, very important. And when we follow Vaishnava etiquette, rest of the things, will fall in place. Now, another very nice thing to note when it comes to these Vaishnava etiquettes, obviously we will be untouched maybe from the threefold miseries or the consequence of threefold miseries. Threefold miseries will be there, but the consequence of that will not be touched. But along with that, we will avoid offences. Because offences are committed in the Vaishnava Sangha only. And normally you will see that offences will be committed when we are not in a proper state of mind. Adhi Atmika Klesha. So when you are going through that Klesha, Adhi Atmika Klesha or Adi Bhautika Klesha, what happens? Naturally our dealings will be spoiled. We ourselves will spoil it and will have to suffer. Therefore, this following the etiquette is a very, very important aspect of a devotee's life. And therefore, so many etiquettes are there. Not just how to deal with superiors, equals and juniors. There are etiquettes of how to deal with outsiders, how to deal with family members, how to deal with opposite gender, how to deal with various other personalities of the society who are very well-to-do or whatever. So when we learn all these different things, even when we don't feel like doing it, etiquette means what? Even when you don't feel like doing it, you still do it because it is an etiquette. That's what is etiquette all about. So when we keep doing it, so with time, we will realize the importance of it. And with time, we will see the benefit also. Therefore, it's very important that every single devotee wears the ornament called Vaishnava etiquette and become beautiful, very attractive. Now, the discussion is all about threefold miseries, and here there is one shloka which talks about how one can be untouched by threefold miseries. But what is the permanent solution? Obviously, consequences we can surely withstand with this shloka. But then how to actually withstand, or what's the permanent solution for threefold miseries? One thing is very clear. Whatever baggage of karma we have, threefold miseries are going to affect us accordingly. We will see that one particular misery which is affecting a person might not affect the other person. Like for example, some on the psychological platform. So something is really irritating for a person. And when we see the same thing, it might not be as irritating as it is irritating for him. Just to give an example, during our college days, there was one of our classmate who became a devotee and later left devotional service. So he had this very systematic and things like that. So he would keep all his books one above another and very proper, pakka. And his table will be very clean, things will be in place and things like that. And we were all staying in hostel rooms. So when his room would be open and he would go to washroom, we'll go and then move everything here and there. Just by looking, when he comes back and just by looking at that, he would go mad. Really go mad. And our tables would be like that only. So for us, no issue, no problem. So I was just thinking that how the same thing, it irritates the person so much, and same thing will not affect the person, the other person. So in this way, we see that how basic things also, based on one's own baggage, based on one's own samskaras, can affect or not affect. So karmas are going to decide all this. That's the point I'm trying to make. The karmic reactions which are pending, all that will manifest in the form of threefold miseries to give us suffering. Therefore, Krishna in Bhagavad-gita, he makes it very clear. He's instructing Arjun. Traigunyo Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto Niryogakshemam Atmavan. Very nicely he says, Traigunyo Vishaya Veda. Arjuna, go beyond three modes of material nature. Okay, what will happen if one goes beyond three modes of material nature? Is very nicely given. Because he is giving an instruction, in fact. Become transcendental to these three modes. Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto. So become free from all dualities. And this is also very nice. Niryogakshemam. Nir, yoga and shema. So become free from the anxiety of yoga and shema. Become free from all the anxieties for gain and safety. This is very nice translation that Prabhupada gives. Atmavan, be established in self. So this is a very nice shloka which talks about when we go beyond three modes of material nature, we will not be affected by the dualities of this material world. It might be anything for that matter. Any form of anxiety, as here it is given yoga and shema, gain and safety. So normally the anxiety is there because in that course of threefold miseries that we're going through, we might lose something. So that is one of the things that is there, the fear or anxiety. And at the same time, the person also might have this anxiety of losing his own life or someone else losing life, who are very near and dear to him. So this gain and safety, the anxieties because of gain and safety is something that the person can easily withstand. Therefore, when he goes beyond three modes of material nature, he is free from these anxieties. And that's what is the instruction that Krishna is giving. Go beyond three modes of material nature. His instruction is as if Krishna is telling, go to third floor. It's so easy, just walk in. But how to actually go beyond three modes of material nature? We understand the benefit of going beyond three modes of material nature. Brahma bhuta prasanna atma na shochati na kangshati. Samha sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. So the person who has gone beyond three modes of material nature, Brahma bhuta, is prasanna atma. Very blissful, very happy. Na shochati na kangshati. He is not lamenting, he is not hankering. He does not have anxiety of lamentation or hankering. But the question comes, how the person can go beyond three modes of material nature? Because when he goes beyond three modes of material nature, threefold miseries cannot affect him. It might be there, but it will not affect the person. Therefore, in 14th chapter, Shloka 26, Krishna tells Arjun, Mam chayo bevicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. O Arjun, Mam chayo vyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate. With one pointed focus, render devotional service unto me. This is a very profound thing that Krishna is telling. Avyavicharena bhakti. There is no question of any break. There is no question of any contamination. One pointed bhakti towards Lord Sri Krishna. Bhakti yogena sevate. Just render devotional service. Sagunan samatityaitan. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. You'll be able to go beyond three modes of material nature and you'll be able to get situated onto that spiritual platform, the platform of bliss. Prabhupada writes in the purport to Traigunyo Vishaya Veda, it's very nice. He says, as long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. This particular section is very much important for us who have not yet crossed three modes of material nature. So what is the solution that Prabhupada is giving? So as long as this material body is there, we are going to suffer. Finally, the root cause of the entire suffering is this material body. Now, three modes attack whom or affect whom? The subtle body. It does not affect the gross body, it affects the subtle body. And all these three miseries which are there, sufferings caused by body and mind, other living entities, natural calamities, affecting what? Body only. So as long as we have this material body, the actions and reactions, there are actions and reactions in three modes. So Prabhupada is saying, one has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. Now this is a very nice thing. Tolerate is one of the things that Krishna is telling here. How many times Krishna has told tolerate, tolerate, tolerate? In this world, you cannot change anything. You cannot control the uncontrolled situations of this world. What will we do at that point of time? Krishna says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama paino nityastam titikshasva bharata. So whatever we are going through, the thing that we have to do is tolerate. And literally this is a solution. A very, very nice solution that Krishna has given. Obviously very difficult to implement, no doubt. But anyone who can implement this, his spiritual life will be smooth. Very smooth. Therefore, even in the third shloka of Shikshastakam, Trinadapi Sunichena, Taroriva Saishnam, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sadahari. What is the crux of these three lines which are given? It's all about tolerate. Whatever situation the person is going through, just tolerate. Tolerate the respect that is coming. Tolerate the disrespect that is happening. And give respect to everyone. Stay humble, like a blade of grass, and as tolerant as a tree. So just tolerate. And just by tolerating, what will happen is, the person will not get disturbed. And when the person does not get disturbed, he can continue chanting the holy names of the Lord, or he can render devotional service continuously. Normally, what disturbs our remembrance of the Lord? Some thought only will disturb, no? Some weird thought, even if not weird, some natural thought, no, why disturb us? That person didn't respect. Oh, this is the problem that is going on. I don't like him but still have to associate with him, etc., etc., etc. That disturbs and the person cannot render continuous devotional service. There will be a break in his mood. There will be a break in his actions. Therefore, tolerate is the word that Krishna is using. And very, very nice thing. We all can actually try to do this in every situation. Wherever we are put into a situation where we are cornered very nicely, the only thing that we should do is tolerate and allow the time to pass. And with the time, the problem also passes. And what is the impetus to tolerate? Philosophical impetus to tolerate? One thing that we should remember always. In this world, everything is temporary. This helps a lot to tolerate. Whatever situation, this especially for devotees I'm talking. So whatever situations we might be going through, and literally you're feeling that we are getting cornered or whatever. So at that time, in that situation, we should just tell ourselves, this is temporary. This will go away. Nothing in this world is permanent. Let me just tolerate. And what am I supposed to do tolerating? Continue sense gratification? Continue rendering devotional service. We want to tolerate not to have better sense gratification. We want to tolerate to continuously render devotional service in an uninterrupted mode. Therefore, we want to tolerate. And Prabhupada is writing the same thing for all of us who are still stuck in three modes of material nature. Tolerate. And therefore, he says, this transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna. So with time, when we come to this platform, tolerance will be very natural because everything that is happening in this world will become very, very insignificant for us. When some person comes and then he's crying that his girlfriend has left him, or some person is crying that I had some loss in my office or his business or whatever. So devotees looking at them, इतने छोटी बात के लिए इतना क्यों रो रहा है? How come suddenly, that same thing which we were suffering so much, suddenly has become choti, has become insignificant, that we have come to a platform where we are able to counsel that person? How come this has happened? Because with time, as the devotee advances in bhakti, he starts saying, "Arey, it's all chindi cheez hai. Why this person is so miserable with this? Chant Hare Krishna." And that person is going through a tough phase. And we are in chant Hare Krishna. अरे तुम्हें समझ नहीं आ रहा है, chanting Hare Krishna is a solution for everything. And that person is saying, तुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है what I am going through. So for us, what he is going through might be very insignificant. Because from a higher platform, when we see that, from a spiritual platform, when you see that, अरे ठीक है, everyone is going through, why are you so affected? And similarly, when we devotees go through some tough phase and we are affected, and when we go to our superiors and tell, and so thing is happening, Prabhuji, अरे, such insignificant thing, you're worried so much. What's the problem? So the point that I'm trying to make here is, as we advance in Krishna consciousness, at different levels, the previous level will start seeming very, very insignificant. Therefore, the only thing that we have to do as of now is keep advancing in bhakti. And in the course of advancing in bhakti, when there are threefold miseries affecting us, three modes of material nature acting on us, tolerate. Temporary situations will go away. And we have so many examples where pure devotees who have transcended, or who are very, very sincere in transcending three modes of material nature, I mean, very sincere in executing devotional service, they are not affected by threefold miseries. Like for example, talking about the misery caused by one's own body. Old age is a time when the person goes through so much of misery. But then we have in our parampara, very, very old personality, 120 plus years old, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. His situation was so pathetic, for an outsider. His situation was so pathetic. His body was completely bent like this. All the time, bent. He had no strength to lift himself. Forget about lifting the body. He had no strength to lift his eyelid. His servant Bihari would raise his eyelid, whenever he had to see something. So his servant Bihari would raise his eyelid. That was the situation. But as soon as Bihari, the servant of Babaji Maharaj, got Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to that place, which is currently called as Yogapeeth, the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya, he jumped high from the basket. Abhi bataiye, which old person can do this? And he was dancing in ecstasy. Which old person can do this? How come he was, at that point of time at least, he was free from that adhyatmika klesha, seemingly adhyatmika klesha. He was not affected. So many other examples. Srila Prabhupada. So there was India-Pakistan war that was going on. Year 1971, Prabhupada was in New Delhi. And a reporter is interviewing Srila Prabhupada. And a very nice interview is going on. And suddenly there's blackout. And there are bombs which are blasting. So at that time, reporter is telling Srila Prabhupada that, we are in a very, very pathetic situation. And Prabhupada is saying, we are always in pathetic situation. No, now it's a problem. Our entire life is a problem. We should do something. We should go and talk to the president of Pakistan. What is the use of going to president of Pakistan? We should go to Krishna. No, he can do something. Krishna can do something. And Prabhupada is preaching his blackout. And Prabhupada is speaking, reporter is speaking. Reporter is in anxiety. And finally, reporter had this question. Let's say, he says a hypothetical situation. Say there's a pure devotee. And a bomb is falling on him. What will be the situation of the pure devotee? And Prabhupada says, the pure devotee will look at the bomb and he'll say, Krishna is coming. And Prabhupada continued saying, he will look at the bomb and he will think that, okay, Krishna wants to kill me. No worries. Let it be. Let it be. This is the mode of a pure devotee. And the reporter is completely flat. He's not able to understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying. And Prabhupada was actually clear about this. Whatever happens, doesn't matter. If you are fixed up devotee of the Lord, rest of things will be taken care. A devotee does not worry because he is completely dependent on Krishna. He knows very well that these threefold miseries are out of my control. I cannot control these threefold miseries. But Krishna is in full control of everything that happens in this world. Understanding this, a devotee is very, very peaceful. Very, very peaceful. How is it that the sadhus, they are so fearless that they enter a dense forest where so many carnivorous animals are there? What is that thing that gives them that fearlessness? Only this one understanding that maybe these animals are out of my control. They might come and cause adi bhautika klesha, but they are in complete control of Krishna. If Krishna desires, I'll be protected. Rakhe Krishna mare ke, and mare Krishna rakhe ke. If Krishna wants to kill, who is going to protect? So this is the mood of a devotee. Other examples which I'm remembering is during in Mayapur, when some dacoits attacked and they threw bombs also at devotees. His Holiness Bhakti Raghav Swami Maharaj lost his leg. How much do we see that Maharaj is affected? We were fortunate that one of the years Maharaj was there with us for Rath Yatra. And I was one of the organizers, so I had told a devotee that you get a car behind, so that whenever Maharaj wants to go, he can sit and he can go. And then I asked his servant. So the servant said, no, Maharaj will walk the entire Rath Yatra. It's so wonderful. They are not affected by all this. I think one body part is gone, so what? We'll continue rendering devotional service. Same thing happened. Srila Prabhupada was not well. I think this was 1973 or something. He was not well, and there was a big letter that was written by Shyamasundar Prabhu. And in that letter, a lot of things he had written about preaching opportunities. Because these devotees knew very well, if you write a letter to Prabhupada and mention about preaching opportunities, Prabhupada will come. So he had written a lot of things. And Prabhupada, he tells other devotees, he's not well. He's somewhat bedridden also. He's telling other devotees, Shyam Sundar has written a letter to me. And he's saying so many preaching opportunities are there. I do very well know that he's exaggerating some things. But a lot of things I can see can happen. So I will go to London. And that organized a huge Rath Yatra. So when Prabhupada arrived there, he was not well. And they had made a very beautiful Vyasasana on the Rath for Srila Prabhupada. And they all were escorting Srila Prabhupada towards the Rath to sit on the Vyasasana. But Srila Prabhupada, instead of going towards the Rath, he went towards the Kirtan team. And there he started jumping and dancing. If I'm not wrong, Prabhupada danced for 6 miles. From the starting point till the ending point, Prabhupada danced. And at the destination, Prabhupada gave a very, very energetic class. And everyone there were enthused by Prabhupada's enthusiasm. Boliye, 3 modes of material nature kahan hai yahan? Not 3 modes, threefold miseries kahan hai? So these are different things that we see. And even Prabhupada mentions about even Adi Daivika Klesha. When he was young, there was a huge famine that was there in entire Kolkata. So Prabhupada said that so many people were suffering, but we were not affected by that. Krishna was taking care of us. And we see when floods happened in Mayapur, and the entire temple is filled with water, but still devotees coming in boat, pujaris are coming in boat, and they're rendering devotional service. Bataiye, Adi Bhautik Klesha. And we see this. I'm not talking about ekdam exalted beyond 3 modes of material nature and all. I'm talking about sincere sadhakas who are trying their best to advance in bhakti. Even they experience of going beyond 3 modes of material nature and not get affected by these threefold miseries. You see, whenever we have these floods, okay, take the recent example of the Russia-Ukraine war that was going on. Yeah, So at that time, devotees were struggling there. But still, even at that time, devotees were trying to take care of others by supplying some food and this and that. There were some other calamities which happened in India. And we saw ISKCON devotees, they were also affected. But still, they were cooking and then going around and supplying prasad to people. So how is it that all these things happen? Because the mood when it comes that, yes, I want to serve the Lord and His part and parcels for Lord's pleasure. Naturally, even when threefold miseries are there, the devotee does not get affected. Therefore, we always say that threefold miseries in this world are mandatory. But suffering is optional for those who are marching towards Krishna with a mood to serve Krishna for his pleasure. Therefore, every devotee who is very intense in practicing devotional service, even when threefold miseries are there, since he is ekdam one-pointed and he is very, very intense in his mood, he will not be affected by threefold miseries. And the outsiders will be dumbfolded to see the entire situation. How can a person who is going through these threefold miseries is still so energetically practicing devotional service? Therefore, as of now, in this state of existence of ours, who are very nicely bound by three modes of material nature, the thing that we have to aspire for is intense devotional service. And that will keep us protected from threefold miseries. Therefore, this statement is very important. Threefold miseries are mandatory because of our karma, but the suffering is optional because of intense devotional service. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.